10 bone-chilling true Alaskan small-town horror stories that haunt today. Never told in the pitch-black depths of Alaska, where even the stars seem to whisper secrets, lay the town of Gray Cliff. This eerie little hamlet, cloaked in frost and shadow, is famous for its bone-chilling legends, stories of unspeakable horrors that sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest souls. People say the very ground is haunted, that the icy winds carry the screams from the forests, echoing tales of lost lives and broken dreams. It was here, in the heart of darkness, where the past refuses to stay buried, one cold, windswept evening. A local woman named Clara Johnson stumbled upon a tattered journal, half buried in the snow behind the old town church. The cover looked as if it had been clawed at by unseen hands. She picked it up, her heart racing. What lay inside was more chilling than she had ever imagined. Page after page told of mysterious disappearances, the last day anyone saw the town's young men before they vanished. Now, Clara wasn't one to scare easily, but as she read on, goosebumps crawled up her arms. Each name inscribed brought back whimpers of those who still roamed the streets, forever searching for justice. The journal ended with a wild claim, something about a dark force watching from the woods. The locals muttered behind her, their faces pale, eyes wide. "It's just the wind," they said, but Clara felt the trembling in her chest, the lump in her throat. Something wasn't right. As she walked home, shadows danced around her. Was it just her imagination? Or was something lurking behind the trees? The chill pierced her skin, and her mind raced with terrifying what-ifs. Just a few blocks away, voices called out from beneath the layer of fresh snow. "Help us, please." The sound echoed eerily, sending a shudder down her spine. She froze, heart thudding. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Clara's breath hitched as she peered into the woods, the whispers growing louder now. Her legs felt like lead. Could it be the lost souls? She could almost see them, faint outlines entangled in the branches, longing for release. Then, a light flickered in the distance. Was it hope? Or was it the lure of something much darker? Clara took a tentative step forward, each crunch of the snow amplifying the stillness around her. What awaited her beyond the trees? The moon cast a pale glow, illuminating secrets of a town that refused to let go. What would the journal reveal next? The truth may just be more terrifying than the tales told in hushed voices around the fire. Clara stepped into the abyss of the woods, the grip of the night tightening around her. The light ahead flickered again, enticing and sinister. She knew better than to approach it, yet she couldn't resist. With every step, the whispers morphed into a cacophony, rising to a fever pitch. "Help us," they cried, sounding increasingly desperate. A chill crawled up her spine. Were these souls still trapped here, or was something worse at play? With a deep breath, Clara plunged deeper, forcing herself to block out the fear clawing at her. Memories of the journal flooded her mind. Names like Jasper and Ethan, each one a lifeline thrown into a void. Those boys never came back. Were they as lost as the restless wind around her? Suddenly, the light flickered once more, illuminating a figure standing beneath the skeletal trees. "Who is there?" Clara called out, her voice quavering. The flickering grew stronger, revealing a gaunt face, pale as the moon, with eyes that glinted like knives. The figure didn't respond. It only stared, an abyss of sorrow and anger mixed into its hollow gaze. "Please." The word escaped her lips, barely a whisper. A grim curiosity tugged at her heart. She took another step closer, entranced by the sorrowful specter, drawn to the pain in those eyes. "Help us," it murmured, voice frayed like old fabric. The figure reached a skeletal hand towards her. It was then Clara saw the others, more shapes emerging from the darkness, eyes alike wide, each one calling for help. The woods crackled with the weight of their lost stories, yearning for a listener. Clara's heart raced as realization dawned. These weren't just voices, they were echoes of the past. Were they trapped in this nightmarish realm, bound to the darkness? The air thickened, growing heavier with regret and despair. Fear threatened to sweep her away, but the urge to uncover the truth propelled her forward. "What did this to you?" she managed to choke out, desperate for an answer that might free them. The figure quivered, and for a split second, Clara thought she caught a glimpse of recognition. The name, Jasper, flickered through her mind. In response, the figure opened its mouth wide, releasing a wail that shook the ground beneath her. It was a sound born of torment, a cry that echoed the anguish of countless souls lost to time. Pendants around her neck clattered in response, an omen warning her to turn back. That s when the unmistakable sound of footsteps crunched against the brittle snow behind her. Clara's heart seized. Someone or something was coming closer. She turned just in time to see a dark shape slip between the trees, eyes reflecting the same fierce glow as the figures pleading for help. Not one, but many were lurking behind her, coming out of the shadows. Panic surged through her. Who were they? Helpful spirits or more sinister beings? With every moment, the woods felt more alive, more menacingly aware of her presence. "Run!" The cry erupted from the shadows. Clara didn't think twice. She turned and sprinted back towards the town, the howling spirits fading into a desperate chorus behind her. But in the back of her mind, a chilling question gnawed. Would she escape this night? And if so, would she ever be free of what she uncovered? As she burst back onto the street of Gray Cliff, visions of vanished souls haunted her thoughts. The whispers still echoed, a persistent reminder that she hadn't escaped yet. What awaited her back in town? Would the lingering darkness consume her, too? Clara took a deep breath, the wind biting at her cheeks. She knew she had to uncover the journal's darkest secret. But could she handle what she might find? The flicker of light in the woods beckoned her once more. What if the true horrors awaited her not in the forest, but in the heart of Gray Cliff itself? Clara stumbled onto the main street, breathless, the chill of the night cutting deeper now that she was away from the forest's grasp. The shadows of Gray Cliff clung to her like a second skin, whispering doubts into her ear as she tried to gather her thoughts. Pumps of adrenaline coursed through her, the frantic rhythm of her heart accentuating the silence surrounding the town. The streetlights flickered weakly, casting one light on the empty roads. Each time their beams sputtered, Clara flinched, half expecting to see the shadowy figures from the woods appear beside her. The overwhelming sense of dread pervaded her thoughts. None of this felt right. What had the journal said about Gray Cliff? In her mind, memories jostled for attention. Ethan's laughter, the echo of a boy's voice warning her not to stray too far. A chill swept over her as she recalled the name Jasper again. What did he have to do with it? She had seen those boys last before they vanished. They'd tread where she had just fled, feet pounding against the hardened snow, just as she had. A sudden noise pulled her back to the present. Clara spun around, scanning the darkened corners of the street. An old wooden sign creaked overhead, and the window of the cafe on the corner rattled as if in response to her unease. Shouldn't the town feel welcoming? Where was everyone? Clara? A voice, gravelly and familiar, sliced through the silence. It was Sophia, her neighbor, bundled in layers against the biting cold. Clara's heart soared for the barest moment before uncertainty crashed over her like a wave. Was Sophia safe? Clara! Sophia called again, rushing toward her. The relief on her face soon fell, replaced by worry. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maybe I have, Clara muttered, shaking her head. You need to get inside. Are you crazy? There's no way you came from the woods unscathed. Sophia glanced back, a flicker of fear in her eyes. Whatever is going on out there, people are talking. No one is safe in these woods at night. You shouldn't have gone there. Clara felt the sudden weight of what she had seen, the desperate eyes, the moaning forms. You've heard stories too? Everyone has, Sophia sighed, her breath swirling in the cold air like smoke. The town knows what happened to those boys. No one wants to talk about it. But I saw something last night when I couldn't sleep. I thought it might be my imagination. But Clara's pulse raced again, a horrible thought forming. What did you see? Sophia glanced around, dropping her voice to a whisper. Shadows, speaking to each other. They're real, Clara. I thought it was just the wind at first. But then I heard a name, your name. They called for you. The chill in Clara's veins intensified. What? What do they want with me? I don't know. Sophia shook her head, eyes wide with fear. But something is coming. I feel it, like a storm brewing. We need to get out of here and figure this out before it's too late. The urgency in Sophia's tone was infectious. Clara nodded, steeling herself. But deep down, an unsettling curiosity lingered. She couldn't leave it all behind. What was truly in those shadows? What was the secret that bound Grey Cliff to the restless spirits of the forest? Sophia grasped her hand, pulling her toward the cafe. Quick, we need to find the others. As they hurried toward the door, a loud crash echoed behind them, a ghostly howl melding with the wind. Clara froze, dread pooling like ice in her stomach. Whatever dark force was awake in the woods had followed her here. Clara, Sophia's voice broke through her thoughts. Keep moving. As they dashed inside, the door slammed shut just as another piercing scream rang out from the darkness. The conversation in the cafe abruptly halted, all eyes turning to Clara, wide with concern. But Clara could hardly focus on them. Across her mind flashed images of the boys, of Jasper's empty eyes, and the whisper of spirits that refused to let her go. Tell us what you saw. Someone called from the back, but Clara could only tremble, feeling the weight of her discovery press against her. What if the truth was even darker than she imagined? As she looked around the room, the shadows lengthened. Someone had taken notice, and a choice loomed ahead. Would they face it together, or let the darkness consume them one by one? We need to find Jasper, and we need to do it now, Clara declared, voice trembling with urgency. The silence was thick with uncertainty. Would they stand together against the gathering storm, or would one more soul be claimed by the horror lurking within the heart of Grey Cliff? The eyes staring back at Clara were wide and fearful, glimmering like glass in the dim cafe light. The conversation buzzed around her, a mix of shock and disbelief, punctuated by whispers, some hushed gasps. She could hear snippets of murmured fears, echoing every suggestion of danger echoing through the air. Did you really see them? One person asked. The shadows? Did they call your name? Are we really going to just sit here? Another voice chimed in, tinged with a hint of panic. You don't understand what you're asking us to do, Clara. Clara felt the walls closing in, the shadows of Grey Cliff pressing against her. She needed to break free from this paralyzing atmosphere. We don't have time for fear. We need to know what is happening, she shouted, her voice slicing through the uncertainty. Sophia squeezed her hand tighter, her eyes pleading. We should call the police. They have to help. They'll know what to do. Nice try, a man at the counter snorted, bitterness clawing his words. You think they'll believe any of this? None of them will risk their necks out there. The stories. They've been around too long. No one comes back. I'd rather face the darkness than wait for it to find us. Clara vowed. The realization that the truth was buried deep in the woods, tangled in the very roots of the horror, ignited a fire in her gut. The cafe door suddenly rattled violently, as though something were trying to break in. A collective gasp rippled through the patrons. Clara's heartbeat quickened, matching the chaos outside. It felt as if the storm Sophia felt was manifesting right in front of them. What do you think it wants? Someone whimpered. Clara inhaled sharply, her heart racing. Maybe it's looking for Jasper, she uttered softly, almost to herself. The name rolled off her tongue like a relic unearthed from the past. He was the last stop. Sophia cut her off, panic filling her eyes. No, don't say his name out loud. You don't know what could happen. But Clara could almost feel the weight of Jasper's absence in the air, heavy and suffocating. It beckoned her, pulling her toward a chasm too deep to ignore. We can't hide from this, she screamed, an edge of desperation creeping into her words. Just then, a figure stumbled through the door, cloaked in shadows, skin pale as the moonlight. The lights flickered and dimmed, a disorienting dance of reality threatening to unravel. Clara gasped as recognition struck her like a bolt of ice. It was Ethan. His face was streaked with mud and wild-eyed with terror as he staggered inside. Clara, he cried, voice hoarse, as if it had to fight against every breath. You have to come back with me. They're not just whispers anymore. They're calling. What do you mean? Clara's heart sank further, dread pooling dangerously at the pit of her stomach. Ethan's presence ignited questions, and she struggled to comprehend the implications. Come back to the woods now. The others are. His voice broke, fear thickening the air. The atmosphere shifted violently, shadows shivered around them, and the room felt drawn into a deep, dark well. "Ethan," Sophia shouted, urgency slicing through her voice. "What happened to the boys?" "They were taken." He was almost pleading, eyes glistening, desperation pouring from him. "The forest, it wants them back. And it knows about you, Clara." The weight of those words sank in like a stone. Clara could feel every heartbeat reverberate with her own panic. The specter of the hidden horrors lay just beyond their reach, and now it was awakening. "Clara," Ethan gasped again, stepping forward, urgency clawing at him. "We don't have much time. You need to trust me. You need to come." The chilling howl erupted outside once more, and Clara froze. What choice could she make? With the shadows closing in, and Ethan's knowledge and undeniable gravity, she felt trapped in a web of fates entangled with lost boys and restless spirits. "Do we really want to know what is lurking in the woods?" she thought, uncertainty flooding her. And just like that, the distance between knowing and ignorance seemed impossibly narrow, teetering on the edge of a great abyss. "Are you ready to face what comes after Jasper?" The question hung heavily in the air, awaiting an answer that could shatter the fragile veil between fear and discovery. The cafe grew eerily silent as Clara stared into Ethan's haunted eyes. She could see the shadows clinging to him like they were long-lost friends. The other patrons shifted uncomfortably in their seats, faces pale and reflective of their own fears. "Ethan," Clara murmured, searching for words, "tell me exactly what happened." His breath came in jagged gasps as he stepped further into the cafe, brushing away the dirt that marked his arms. "It's worse than I thought," he said, his voice trembling. "We thought it was just the stories, just old tales to scare kids. But they came alive when the fog rolled in, Clara. It wasn't just fog, it was alive. It breathed." Everyone leaned in, captivated by the horror in his tone. Clara's heart thudded, a drum echoing in the growing anxiety. The boys were just playing near the edge of the woods. "You know how we always dared each other to go closer." Ethan's voice cracked, eyes flooding with unshed tears. "But when I looked for them, it was like they vanished. Just gone. And then I heard them whispering. They needed me to come back." "They stop," Clara interjected, her voice rising. "What did you hear them say?" "They called out our names." His eyes darted around the cafe, seeking reassurance. "And I felt it, Clara. I felt something pulling at me, like a string attached to my heart. It wants us all." A gasp erupted from the back of the cafe. "Are we just supposed to go out there? What if we end up like them?" A young woman trembled in her seat, and murmurs of agreement arose. Clara took a step closer to Ethan, her hands shaking. "You said it knows about me. Why me?" He shook his head, fear etched across his features. "I don't know. I didn't understand until I saw their faces. They were twisted, Clara, not like the boys we grew up with." He licked his dry lips, voice lowering to a whisper. "It was wanting something. It's been waiting all this time." "Maybe it's waiting for Jasper," Clara suggested, another tumult of dread spilling over her. "Stop," Sophia shouted suddenly, her expression fierce. "You can't say his name. Every time you do, it feels like it stirs something. We can't afford to invite anything else into this." The cafe was suffocating, the shadows closing in tighter with each passing moment. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows, matching the agitation in the air. Clara felt a knot of fear tightening in her chest. She thought of the boys, their laughter echoed in her memory, now tainted with unimaginable loss. "I have to go back," Clara said, her voice unsteady but resolute. The truth felt like an anchor drawing her toward danger. "We can't just ignore this. We might be able to save them." "Are you crazy?" The man at the counter shot her a wild look. "What if you don't come back? Are we really going to risk everything?" "I can't just sit here," Clara shouted, desperation spilling out. "They deserve a chance. If there's a way, we have to try. We shouldn't go alone." Sophia pleaded, eyes wide. "We need to stick together. How do we know we can trust Ethan?" Someone in the corner asked, a shroud of doubt tightening around them. Ethan clenched his jaw, breathing heavily as he faced the crowd. "I've been to the edge. I've seen how deep it goes. If we're going, we can't sprint into this blindly. But we'll need to move quickly, and we need to stay focused. The moment we waver, it knows." Clara felt the certainty of her choice. One way or another, she had to help. But moving into the unknown pulled at her gut. Would they find the boys, Or just allow the shadows to snatch them too. The cafe door rattled again, a premonition cutting through the tension. A deep rumbling echoed outside, but this time it wasn't tea, just the wind. It was a voice, low and haunting. Clara, the darkness seemed to stretch further into the truth. A choice lay before her: venture into the woods, or remain buried in ignorance. The question lingered painfully. Would she emerge with answers, or would she vanish like the others? Will you follow the shadows into the very heart of fear? The cafe seemed to vibrate with the weight of their shared dread. Eyes darted around, searching for the creeping threat that felt like a living thing, breathing alongside them in the cafe's suffocating air. "Clara," Ethan said suddenly, his voice urgent, "if we do this, you have to promise me to stay close. No wandering off. No distractions." The seriousness of his words hung heavily. Clara nodded, but doubt twisted in her stomach. She felt the weight of every life that had been lost, every child that had vanished over decades, and the chilling whispers that haunted her mind. The bell over the cafe door jingled again, this time more insistent as Clara pushed her way out into the cool night. The fog pressed down like a physical presence, swirling thick and damp. It curled around her ankles, as if trying to pull her back. "Stick together," Clara shouted over her shoulder, glancing back at the group that had reluctantly followed her out. The wind picked up, howling through the trees and drowning her voice halfway. She felt a surge of resolve, but the fear gnawed at her insides. Ethan stood beside her, his expression grim and determined, while Sophia trailed closely, her wide eyes scanning the darkened street. They walked towards the woods, the trees looming like silent watchers on either side. Clara's heart raced, the depth of the shadowy forest calling to her, yet filled with foreboding. As they stepped further into the darkness, sounds shifted. The hooting of owls and distant rustling began to fade, replaced by an eerie stillness that made her skin crawl. "I can't believe we're doing this," Sophia whispered, her voice quivering. "What if?" "Don't think about it," Clara interrupted, grabbing her friend's arm. "Focus on the boys. They need us. They need hope." But with each step, Clara felt the shadows shift, almost alive, twisting and curling around them like a pack of hungry wolves. The air thickened, a heavy mix of despair and urgency flooding her senses. Every rustle was a sigh, every breeze a warning. Ethan pulled ahead slightly, motioning for them to follow him deeper into the woods. "They were last seen around here," he said, squinting into the blackness. The trees seemed to breathe, almost swelling with menace. Suddenly, faint cries echoed through the air, distorted whispers that sent chills crawling up Clara's spine. She stopped dead in her tracks, frozen by the despairing calls. "Did you hear that?" she breathed. "Keep moving," Ethan urged, urgency lacing his voice. But the whispers intensified, layering over each other, soft, pleading voices. Shapes brushed against the corners of her vision, but every time she turned her head, there was nothing, a wisp of fog or a rustle in the leaves. "Ethan, they're here," Clara gasped, her pulse quickening. "They need us." But Ethan's expression morphed, fear clawing at his features. "No, we can't." He gripped Clara's arm hard, panic thorny. "The whispers, the fog, it's trying to lure us in. They're not just cries. They're a trap." The ground shuddered beneath them as if the earth itself was alive, vibrating with ancient rage. Clara trembled, her heart pounding loud enough to drown out the voices. Each thump echoed with the weight of dread. The realization that they might not be alone became unbearable. "Get back!" Ethan shouted, but it was too late. The shadows coiled, sweeping towards them with a malevolence that sent Clara stumbling back. She turned to run, but an unseen force held her still, the grip of fear tightening around her heart. There's no turning back. Now came a voice from the darkness, cold and soft, slithering through the fog, wrapping around their minds. Clara's breath hitched. In the depths of the woods, something stirred. The air itself seemed to breathe, and the shadows whispered promises she couldn't understand, but felt deep in her bones. "Are you ready to face what lives in the depths of darkness?" The question hung, a taunting whisper, just before the figures emerged from the fog. More than shadows, more than memories, they were the lost souls, twisted and yearning, trapped in a dance of despair. Clara's stomach dropped, her mind a torrent of fear as the figures drew closer. The truth twisted painfully in her chest. They came for her, for all of them, and she finally understood what had been waiting. Would they recognize the price of their hope, or become forever entwined in the darkness? The figures advanced through the thick mist, their shapes blurred by the surreal fog as they glided silently towards Clara and her friends. Each step they took sent a prickling chill down Clara's spine, the air thickening with an almost palpable dread. She could see gaunt, hollow faces forming, features twisting into expressions of torment and desperation. "Clara!" Ethan shouted, snapping her back to reality. "We have to run." But the shadows whispered louder, beckoning her to stand still, to listen, to understand. Clara blinked, shaking her head as if trying to rid herself of a nightmare. "No, we can't leave them," she yelled back, though her voice trembled. It was as if something deep inside her was already entranced by the haunting calls for help. Sophia, clutching Ethan's arm, looked terrified. "What do we do?" she pleaded, the raw panic evident in her voice. Clara raised her eyes, now reflecting the flickering light of determination below the surface of her fear. "We find them. We help those who are stuck here," Clara shouted, her heart pounding against her ribs like a caged bird desperate to escape. Ethan's grip around her arm tightened, a mixture of fear and disbelief etched on his face. Before they could make a decision, one of the figures lunged forward from the fog, voice chillingly clear. "Why do you resist? You're lost like us." The voice sent another jolt through Clara as recognition slid through her mind. She had heard that voice before, echoing in nightmares. "Who are you?" she demanded, pulling Sophia closer as she stepped back. Her voice wavered, but she tried to sound defiant, an act of bravery in the face of encroaching shadows. "No one and everyone," the figure replied, a cold laugh escaping lips that barely moved. "The forgotten, the forsaken, and your friends are among us. They wait, but time flows different here." Clara felt a wave of nausea wash over her. "No, they're not dead," she cried out, but even as she spoke, doubt tangled within her heart. The figure chuckled softly, and around it, the other shadows began to hum a haunting melody woven with sorrow. The fog deepened, swirling, pulling at Clara's feet as though trying to drag her into the abyss. She fought the urge to slip away, to yield to the despair that called to her. "Clara, let us go?" Ethan shouted again, his voice cutting through the fog of enticement. "They're trying to trap us. We can change this." Everything inside Clara screamed to follow the captivating lure of the voices. She longed to know the secrets, to understand what the darkness concealed. But she also felt the flicker of hope, sparked by Ethan's urgency. "We need to stick together. Stay strong," she shouted back, her voice unsteady yet firm. The shadows recoiled, wavering as if stung by her refusal. "Strength is an illusion," the nearest figure hissed. "You cannot resist forever. This is fate, Clara." But Clara was fueled by desperation, fighting against the numbing pull threatening to claim her. "We will break this cycle. We will find our boys." As the figures lunged closer, Clara's heart raced, adrenaline rushing through her veins. She could feel the warmth of Ethan next to her, his bravery reminding her they were not alone. The ground trembled again, and suddenly, the fog swirled violently, creating a vortex that threatened to swallow them whole. "Run!" Ethan bellowed, his grasp tightening around her hand. Clara nodded, adrenaline coursing through her as they turned to flee. But the whispers transformed into a cacophony of screams, shrill voices thrown at them in a wild storm of chaos. "No, you belong here. A deal with the darkness awaits." Clara's heart hammered, the terrible realization dawning that their escape was no longer a choice. It was a desperate necessity. What awaited them beyond the trees? Was freedom just footsteps away, or would they tumble deeper into the shadows, forever bound by the haunting pleas of the lost? With the panic driving her forward and the shadows hot on their heels, Clara pushed into the depths of the forest, the fear of the unknown twisting like a knife in her gut. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, but the thought of standing still filled her with I in the distance. The tangle of voices grew richer, more insistent. Were they truly leading her to freedom or to an unimaginable fate? As Clara and Ethan plunged deeper into the grasping darkness, the oppressive fog thickened, swallowing their breaths and mixing their panic with desperation. Each footfall echoed against the trees, the thrum of their racing hearts almost drowned out by the relentless whispering that clawed at their minds. Sophia struggled to keep pace, fear coursing through her. What if they're telling the truth? She gasped, eyes darting around in search of answers hidden in the murky gloom. What if we can't find them? No, we'll find them. Clara pressed, shaking her head to dislodge the gnawing doubts. We have to believe. Yet, the shadows loomed behind them, a whispering tide of despair that surged closer with every fleeting moment. An icy breeze swept through the trees, and Clara felt the skin on the back of her neck prickle. She swore she could hear the lost ones calling, voices swirling around her, echoing memories of laughter, joy, then abruptly turning to cries of anguish that made her stomach churn. Keep running. Don't look back. Ethan yelled, his voice a fierce anchor amidst the chaos. But how could she not look, when each call tugged on her heart, a relentless reminder of what they were racing against? Then a figure lunged from the darkness. Clara stumbled to a stop, fear freezing her limbs. It was a boy, familiar yet haunting. He wore the same tattered clothes from the photograph in her phone, the one she swiped through every day, filled with memories of laughter, friendship, and promise. Help us. He reached for her, eyes wide with desperation. Please, we're stuck just like you. Clara's breath hitched, torn between the surface of reality and the depths of her emotions. Is that you, Alex? Yes. But hurry, they're coming. His voice blended with the others, each syllable sharp and filled with urgency. Clara, no? Ethan's voice sliced through her thoughts, a warning laced with fear. This isn't real. They want to trap you. But it was too late. Clara was already moving towards her friend, longing to touch him, to break the invisible barrier that separated them. I want to leave you, she cried, the pain of separation searing through her. As she reached out, a hand from the shadows gripped her wrist tightly. You're playing with fire, the figure hissed, dragging her backward, deeper into the mist. Once you cross this line, you can never return. Ethan made a desperate lunge, grasping Clara's other hand. The ground beneath them quaked with an unearthly force, as if the very earth was fighting against their reunion. Clara was caught between two worlds, her gaze flickering from Ethan's terrified face to Alex's pleading eyes. Save yourself, Clara. Alex screamed, desperation coating every word. His figure began to dissolve into the mist, his face twisted in anguish. Don't let them keep you here. Tears welled, blurring Clara's vision as her heart wrestled with the impossibility of their choices. The shadows were closing in, their whispers turning into a menacing roar. You can't escape. They chanted, this is your destiny. With a final surge of adrenaline, Clara pulled against the grip of the shadow, her other hand still clinging to Ethan's. We need to go, now. As she turned to run, a dark weight pulled at her soul, the tormented cries of the lost echoing behind her. The shadows lunged, desperate to reclaim what they believed was theirs. Every step was a battle, every heartbeat a reminder of what they were leaving behind. But they pressed forward, urgency propelling them into the unknown, chasing their only hope of survival. What lay at the end of the forest? Would they find safety, or was an even darker fate waiting to claim them, bound forever to the forgotten? Clara's legs felt like lead as she sprinted further from the grasp of darkness, Ethan's powerful grip anchoring her to reality. A frantic rhythm pumped through her veins while the fog thickened, becoming a wall that swallowed their cries and snuffed out the light that fought against encroaching despair. Each echo in the darkness ramped up her dread. Shadows barreled forth, whispering secrets that clawed at her heart. Clara, look! Ethan shouted, tugging her toward a narrow path lined with thorny briars that snaked away from the fading figure of Alex. But her heart raced with indecision. Could they really leave him, trapped and calling for help? Stay together, she gasped, realizing not just her freedom was at stake, but the gravity of Ethan's presence. She turned to him, desperation sparking in her eyes. I can't lose you too. Trust me. We can't help him if we get caught. Ethan's voice was laced with vehement urgency. The shadows surged forward, their breath cold against her skin as if tasting her fear, their whispers morphing into guttural growls that gnawed at her will. They wanted her. She could feel it craving her spirit. What's worse? The nightmares, once just fleeting thoughts in the dark, were now breathing entities, intent on dragging her into a state of unfathomable torment. The path twisted and turned, each jagged branch clawing at them like hands seeking to snatch them back. Clara stole a glance over her shoulder, the mist quivering with movement. Alex's ghostly figure drifted slightly beyond, his voice growing softer, fainter, yet laced with an unnerving calm. "Clara, don't forget you promised." She shook her head fiercely, banishing the memory of their childhood promise, the innocent vow made well before the weight of reality bore down on them. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the fog, a sound that sent a shockwave of terror through Clara and Ethan. They stumbled, exchanging a horrified glance. It didn't come from the depths of the forest. It came from the very shadows behind them, a haunting reminder of what they could become if they didn't escape. "Faster," Ethan urged, his voice cracking. The very air around them vibrated with a feverish energy, the darkness pulsating like a living creature catching up to them. But as they ran, Clara's eyes caught an unsettling flicker in the fog ahead. Shapes began to materialize, outlines of people bent and twisted, faces lost to despair. The mist wove around them, and Clara's heart plummeted. Were these the lost souls, forever trapped in this realm, or simply figments of her broken mind? No, she murmured. She couldn't bring herself to believe it. "They can't be what I think they are." But the jagged whispers crescendoed. "Join us, Clara. Stay with us." Her pulse raced. She didn't want to fathom what their presence signified. It was now or never. "We're almost there," Ethan shouted again as they broke through the brambles, landing on a wider clearing. But relief wasn't theirs to grasp just yet. The air was thick with a seething energy, as if the clearing itself were alive and unwilling to let them pass. Before them stood a crumbling stone archway, dark and ornate, pulsing like a heartbeat, begging them to enter. Clara felt something pulling at her, the thrill of the unknown flickering through her veins. It whispered promises of safety, of lost friends waiting just beyond its threshold. "What do we do?" she asked, her breaths coming in sharp gulps. "Go through it." Ethan hesitated, his brow furrowing deeper as the shadows writhed behind them, growing dangerously impatient. "Or we risk everything here," he replied, panic threading his voice. Clara gripped his arm tighter, indecision swirling around them like smoke. The archway loomed, ominous and tempting. "If we step through, can we handle what waits on the other side?" she breathed. The shadows surged closer, claws stretching, desperate to claim them. "We have to make a choice now?" Ethan shouted, his voice raw with urgency. Clara felt the cold tendrils of fear wrapping closer around them. And then, behind the archway, something slithered into view, its shape unsettling eyes that glimmered like distant stars amidst a void. The ground began to shake beneath them. What waited in that archway? Would they find safety, or had they just stumbled into their greatest nightmare? Clara stood at the archway, her heart racing faster than her thoughts. Shadows surged behind her, a tempest of whispers weaving through the air, an almost tangible annoyance, clawing at her resolve. Ethan's grip on her hand felt familiar yet urgent. The decision weighed heavier than the darkness encroaching around them. The voices grew louder, almost pleading, echoing the lives stolen, and the fear coursed through her veins like ice. "Clara!" Ethan's voice pierced through the chaos, snapping her back to the moment. The shadows danced ominously, their howls rippling like waves. "We have to decide. We can't stay here." The archway seemed to shimmer, an opening to the uncertainty that lay beyond. Was this the escape they desperately sought? Or was it a trap, leading them deeper into despair? A flicker of memory sparked inside Clara's mind, Alex's face twisted with desperation, his pleas for help echoing in her ears. "But if we go through, what if it's too late for him?" she thought, anguish griping her heart. "We can't let fear dictate us," Ethan shouted, his voice rising above the crashing whispers. "If we hesitate, those shadows will take us." Clara clenched her jaw, pushing down the rising tide of terror. "You're right." She forced herself to take a breath. "We have to move." With newfound resolve, she yanked Ethan forward, sprinting towards the archway. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if they could sense their determination, but it was not enough to deter them. As they plunged through the archway, Clara felt a rush of cold air envelop her, the world shifting in an instant. The dark mantle of the forest fell away, replaced by a hazy glow that stretched in every direction. They stumbled onto a vast expanse, a nightmarish landscape draped in heavy fog and shadows that twisted in serpentine motions. Clara's heart sank as she scanned the eerie surroundings. The air hummed with tension, a chorus of lost souls echoing from the depths. The terrible wail almost drowned out everything else, twisting around them, sending chills down her spine. Memories surrounded her, intoxicating and suffocating all at once. "You shouldn't have come here," a voice whispered, chilling her to the bone. "Now you're part of the story now." Clara shot back, clenching her fists at her sides. "We're here to find them." She felt Ethan's hand squeeze hers tighter, the determination blazing between them. "The fog, it's alive," he warned, his eyes darting around, searching for the figures among the swirling shadows. "We need to stick together." The landscape around them shifted, casting silhouettes of boys Jasper, Ethan, and even Alex trapped within the fog. Their eyes, once full of light, glimmered with something darker. They looked at Clara with longing and despair, their mouths moving silently, begging for her attention, yet cautioning against stepping closer. "No, you can't help us." A voice cracked from the shadows. It was a warning, laced with regret, the weight of countless untold stories. But all Clara could do was move forward, pushing against the tide of whispers. "I will help you," she shouted, defiance ringing through her. "I promise I won't leave you." Ethan moved beside her, determination etched on his face. "We'll break this curse together." The fog surged, and the shadows tightened around them, trying to pull them apart. But Clara felt the strength of their bond tethering them together. "Find the light," Clara thought, remembering the flicker that had drawn her in before. She clung to the hope that there was a way out, a glimmer that could shatter the darkness. "Trust in each other." As if fueled by their resolve, Ethan called out through the haze. "Jasper, Alex, we're coming for you." The shadows surged forward, howling in fury as Clara and Ethan pressed deeper, fueled by their connection. The fog thinned momentarily, allowing a faint glow to break through, shimmering with the energy of those who had long been forgotten. Just then, Clara spotted a flicker in the dark cloud ahead. There, flanked by a circle of light, she caught a glimpse of familiar faces. In that moment, she felt a wave of understanding wash over her. They weren't just trapped, they were part of the fog's ancient dance, cursed to remain until someone showed them the way. "Let me in," Clara called out, her entire being resonating with the need to help. "Jasper, Ethan, guys, I believe in you." The boys turned towards her, expressions shifting, confusion melted to recognition. "Clara?" Jasper finally whispered, light spilling through his eyes. "We thought we could escape. Together. We can do this," Clara urged, holding on to Ethan as they moved further into the fog. Stepping toward the gathering light that pulsated with hope, the shadows recoiled with a roar, but together, they climbed toward the light, hearts pounding as Clara reached out. "Don't lose faith." Unexpectedly, the fog began to unravel, a haunting melody echoing through the air. With every step, Clara felt the weight of the souls beginning to lift, pulling the shadows apart like threads unraveling from fabric. With one final push, Clara screamed, "This is for all of you. Come with me." The air crackled, shimmering with energy as they broke free from the fog, voices harmonizing in a choir of relief. Clara and Ethan surged through the veil, the shadows fading behind them, lost to the past. Then, they stumbled out of the woods and into the familiar warmth of Gray Cliff. Clara fell to her knees, panting, dizzy from the intensity of emotions swirling within her. The shadows receded, leaving behind only faint echoes. Did we really?" Clara gasped, glancing around for their friends. The town felt still, quiet, as if holding its breath. Suddenly, Ethan collapsed beside her, his eyes wide with shock and triumph. "We did it," Clara nodded, fighting back tears. The reality of what they accomplished washed over her, and she realized that not all stories ended in sorrow. Together, they could write new tales, ones woven with hope instead of despair. As they both stood to return home, Clara glanced back at the trees, a soft breeze passing through. The connection with the lost souls lingered in the air, a gentle reminder of the battles fought and the lives gained. Then, her phone buzzed in her pocket, the chime of a new message rushing in like an unexpected gust of wind. It was Sophia. You okay? The text read. Clara smiled, heart lifting. We're safe. Maybe Grey Cliff wasn't just haunted, it was alive with stories, each heartbeat echoing the unity that bound them all together. Maybe in the end, they hadn't just escaped. They had reclaimed their lives. And with that, Clara knew one thing. Darkness may always linger, but as long as they stood united, it could never wholly claim them again. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.